carry on.
Brilliant. Right. And we're back. Yeah, so talking about that, it does, yeah, it's a nice little segue into our next story, which is about how games should start to own their politics more. Now, what this is talking about is now obviously we do have a lot of games these days that have a strong message in them. It's usually based around relationships between people. I mean, most recent examples would be things like God of War. Last of Us has a very powerful message at the end, and in terms of love and relationships, all that kind of stuff, whatever. More recently, I had on my stream, we played a game called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which had a very, very strong message of its own about mental health and mental health awareness. Now, these are all sort of very, very personal messages. So we're not talking about, games should have a message, because I think it's very clear that games do have a message. They have a very strong message, and they tell these messages extremely well. What we're talking about here is games getting involved in the political circle and getting involved in much bigger social issues and using their medium to kind of expand on those issues and ask questions. What do you think about this, Noobs? Do you think the games should be getting involved in politics and in real world social issues?
I mean, a lot of it has to do with like, your video game world is supposed to be for you to step into any kind of fantasy. So it's always good to have politics, but maybe not so much like current world politics. I just feel it's a touchy subject. So then, what was it? I can't remember which Call of Duty.
Why? Stop right there. Why is it a touchy subject? Tell me more.
I guess because if you replicate something that's happening, there's always two sides. There's always the Republican, Democrat here. So you had the Hillary, the Trump thing. So, it's like if you start putting the politics into it, somebody that's anti this, anti that, you're putting it into your game. Like people either aren't going to.
Well, that's not necessarily what we're talking about. I get what you're saying about taking real life situations and real life politics and putting them into video game. There's always the chance of misrepresenting the truth. I get that 100%, but that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm referring to is video games just having a message or having a stance on some form of political subject. They don't have to replicate what's happened in the real life. Like have a game about Donald Trump's election now, but they can have something set on Mars where they have two competing political parties, but whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I know some of the games have actually pushed that boundary where it's pretty, in the real sense of what's going on now. But yeah, like as a fictional politics, like it has to be there because you want that opposing force because either the politics is what's driving your character to do what they're doing. It's building, like we have to have some sense of, politics are huge in the world, and every different country has their own little thing. So like if you're going to build, a sense of realism into a game, the fake politics have to be there because that's just something that's, in everyday's life. So like the politics is what kind of builds, there has to be a government, opposing force of something or a controlling force, even if you're on Mars per se, somebody has to run it, so like the politic factor is there, you will have a government source or, the government's controlling the military source, out there. So yeah, I mean, there definitely needs to be in a fictional politic aspect, to the game. So I do agree with that. Try and, the fictional part, but some games have pushed the life-like events where people are used or certain stuff has happened where they're replicating it. That I don't care so much for that in that aspect, but fictional politics, yes.
Fair play. I mean, using an example for me, there's a fantastic show on Netflix at the moment called The Expanse, which is sort of a sci-fi show set many years in the future where mankind is living in 3 different places within our galaxy. And it's very interesting how they, in that show, kind of talk very much have these themes on racism, on the man's natural condition to conquer, and all these kind of very, very big social social subjects. That's the word I was going for. And the reason I kind of hounded on you there when you said, oh, it's a bit of a touchy subject. Why is it a touchy subject? Why do we feel like, oh, we shouldn't talk about that? We shouldn't talk about that. I mean, this relates down to this new David Cage game. What's it? Detroit.
Detroit Become Human.
The androids. That's the one, Detroit Become Human. He got a lot of crap for that game about, talking about these kind of social issues about a child that's being abused. I'm not going to give too many spoilers in the game about the game, but there is a certain aspect of the game where it very much deals with child abuse, and how emotionally it's kind of how a robot would respond to that. I guess I haven't played the game. Divine Conqueror, I know you're watching somewhere. I know you played it. I watched you played it, and I thought it was very interesting. But he got a lot of stick for that, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh no, this kind of talk shouldn't be in video games. It shouldn't be turned into entertainment." And I say, why the hell not? Why can we not ask these questions across all forms of media? We've got it in film. We've got it in television. Hell, we've got it in music. What's wrong with games? Why can games not be a place where we can put these social questions forward for people to think about? I think it's only going to be good for us.
Yeah, and I definitely like the message, that Detroit Human had. I did get a chance to watch Divide play it multiple times, and it's an amazing game. And yeah, the interaction between the droids versus the humans, and just you could feel the realism, when somebody was truly upset, that the fact that this is here. And, it does have a place where you could go, oh, my God, like, if this was real world content, people would be like this. And it's great to have a game, push that and show us, what us as humans would be like, the people that are going to accept it, people that aren't going to accept it, and how they're going to react to it. And, it's something that's not here, currently, but it's good to see, that's the whole purpose of a game. You're stepping into a world that you can't currently live in, and it's nice that they do have that politic factor where people are for it, against it. I mean, it was just I thought it was a very beautiful put game together.
But they kind of, you mentioned something there again, which I think is interesting, about stepping into a world which you can't live in, but we're talking about having social economic subjects that are relevant to us now, portraying them in a game where it's like, oh, well, that definitely can't happen here. It's not going to have any kind of effect. You're kind of wasting time if you're trying to put a message forward. It needs to be, you need to see games like Detroit Become Human, like what are the other ones he did? Was it Heavy Rain? Things like that, where they drive home in a realistic aspect these social issues that affect people every single day. Issues like poverty, like child abuse. We need to. I think games need to step up their game a bit, because they have this incredible reach. They have this incredible ability to reach so many people with stories of interest and stories of intrigue that can fundamentally change the way someone thinks about a subject. They have that power. I've got a few games that really sort of made me question certain things. Why don't we have more of that? Why are games too scared to do that? I think Watch Dogs was a fantastic example where they took this kind of strong social political stance and in terms of how technology is going to affect the world in the future and affect politics in the future. But then towards the end of the game, they kind of cowered away from really driving home the message when they had an opportunity to make it hard hitting and then really hit a point. They just kind of cowered away from it. I don't know. Can you think of any games that you've played recently that kind of maybe cowered away from where they had a chance to drive home a message? Just thought, actually, as you said, don't really want to talk about that.
I haven't finished it, but I felt like, I guess out of all games, maybe would have been The Division.
Good one.
I feel like, because it was right there, Washington D.C. It was like the home front. And it came out really strong, and I think that's kind of what lost me in the whole story, is like it started to kind of, trickle away a little bit, and you're just kind of like, the story kind of lost you.
It starts with a very strong message about greed, if I remember correctly, and because the disease is spread through money, isn't it?
Yes.
So it does start off with this very strong message, but I have finished the game. I cannot remember what the kind of ending result was. I just remember it was really cool, and I loved the gameplay, and it was fun to run around New York killing things. But I don't. You're right. I don't actually remember what the rest of the story really was, or if there was a message in it. So yeah, great example.
Yeah, as I say, I probably made it halfway through, but yeah, it definitely it was going good. It had a strong message, and then yeah, for me,
do you think they'll carry that on? Do you think they'll carry that on in the new game coming out? Do you think they'll try and hit that political message again, or do you think they'll cower away from it more and just go for more the gameplay and the mechanics aspect?
I think for story based, like you're still going to have some of it. I think it's probably going to be on the same level as where they were. I don't think anybody's really trying to push any boundaries at the moment.
But why not?
I don't know. And I love it though. I mean, like even with the Detroit Become Human, I always see the videos where like they're starting to make the androids, talk back to you and facial features and stuff. So, give it 10 years and that game is going to reach our reality.
10? That's a bit soon. I reckon maybe 100.
100?
I reckon we'll have semi-sentient androids within 100 years. Well, I do not want to live to see that day, though. I'll be honest.
You don't want to do the iRobot thing?
No, I don't want to do the John Connor thing. That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh man, yeah. It would be awesome, but yeah, then I always hear stories of like two robots talking to each other, and it's always about like conquering the world or something to that aspect. So it's like that freaks me out a little bit. That
Tesla did this thing. I think it was Tesla or Google. I can't remember. They created what they called the first true AI. They had it on for about 3 hours, and they had to switch it off because it just started talking about how it wanted to murder everyone. So it's like, nope, turn it off quick.
Yeah, I picture that in my head. And then I see the video of the lifelike Dow that has that creepy face, and like just those voices coming out of that Dow that almost looks real, and it's like it's a flashback to iRobot, and I was like, no. What was the new one? Was it Auto?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking, which one you're on about, but yeah, I mean. It's all fascinating. Look, and if anyone has anything else to add to that, or has any other great examples of games that where they maybe did hit home the social issue, yeah, please drop us in the comments or in Discord somewhere. Let us know. Right. So our next story, we're moving on to something a bit more lighthearted. We've got, and this is what I love about the video game community in general. So Lord of the Rings fans have started remaking the Battle for Middle-earth game in Unreal Engine 4. So it's obviously guys who are big fans of the game and wanted to do a remake. Obviously, the company that made it isn't interested. I think it's 4K who made it originally. Yeah, they weren't interested in doing a remake. So these guys just decided, you know what, screw it. We're gonna get the Unreal Engine. We're just gonna remake the game. And there you can see the kind of difference in graphics. I don't know if they're gonna have any difference in terms of the gameplay mechanics. I imagine that's going to be pretty much the same.
They did say that because of the way it is, everything is being built in for the coding, everything is being done from the ground up. So that some of the mechanics could be different because of the 100% rebuild. But they are going to try to keep it as true to this aspect.
I reckon what they'll probably do in that regard then is certain mechanics they'll just make slightly more efficient at best, I'd say. But no, looking at it visually, it looks fantastic. I never played the first one. Were you into it at all?
No. I mean, I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings, but I've never played any game, based off of it, any of the newer ones. But now looking at it, I mean, I would totally play it. Even the old one.
I'm the same. Because I mean, we spoke about this last week with the Counter-Strike stuff. I was massively into these kind of games growing up and as a youngster, but just don't really have the time for them anymore. But I love Lord of the Rings enough that I would probably buy this and play it when it comes out. It does say here, though, that although 4K don't have any direct involvement in the development of this, they are supporting it entirely. So I'm guessing that's just pieces of game mechanics that they're probably happily just kind of, oh yeah, here you guys, here's the code that we used for that, adapt it however you want. And as a developer, I think that's the best thing to do. You've got guys, they're doing this for free for you. Like, yeah, you can still make money out of it if they decide to sell it because you still own the copyrights to it. So they're literally they're going to make money for doing nothing by supporting these guys. So why the hell wouldn't you?
And I wish more companies would do this. You're always seeing somebody out there using the Unreal platform to just come up with. I mean, it's something that we all want. Like, we always have our favorite game we'd love to see, remastered. But people are doing it. Like you said, they're doing it for free. And then some of these companies, the biggest one I saw was Ocarina of Time done in the Unreal. And then Nintendo just comes in and just shuts it down, like don't even whisper our properties. And it's like, but that's what you are not delivering. And these people are like, just give us what we want as long as they follow your guidelines. And it's great.
Not even give us what we want, just let us make for ourselves what we want.
Yeah, and it's great to see that, this developer is all in. They're like, hey, we're not going to... Things could be different when money gets involved because that always changes a story. But that they're there and they're like, hey, we're going to, support what you're doing and not... we're not going to slap your hand or do anything like that.
Yeah, and as you say, it is great to see a developer kind of on board with this. 4K, obviously, if my memory serves me right, the guys behind Borderlands, isn't it?
That I
think so.
I don't know. Like I said, I have Borderlands. I have not even played it, so I couldn't tell you who developed.
I'm sorry, I read this completely wrong. It is not 4K. It is EA, in fact, that were the original developers. So my mistake there. Yeah, so it's an EA thing. And I guess in the grander scheme of things, thank you, EA, for kind of maybe doing something that people actually might thank you for at some point in the future, potentially, maybe.
They're only backing it to put in loot crates.
Yeah,
they're only backing it because they're gonna throw the loot crates.
Yeah, you can do it, but as long as you put loot crates in it, just put loot crates in it. Yeah. Oh man, that would be funny. But kudos on you, EA. You may have done something that people might like. Well done. But yeah, it is good to see a developer getting behind a kind of personal project. I mean, coming from the perspective, I'm a hobbyist Unity developer, and I say that. I've not actually finished a game, but I know how to make a game on it. But yeah, from that perspective, a lot of the stuff that I do is very much kind of inspired by games that I play. And then you often play games like, oh, I wish I'd made that game. That would have been cool. So for these guys, I can imagine it's great to kind of go back and remake their favorite, probably their favorite game from however many years ago. And it's just good to see that kind of passion in gamers, and then see them bringing out more stuff that other people want to play. So kudos to you guys. And sorry, carry on, man. We want to finish that one off?
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's just like, I mean, you have artists that recreate and draw, their favorite character. People make songs, they do like tribute movies and, to their stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's great to see that you yourself can recreate, your game, into the way that you want to see it, or, give it a little update. So it's nice that the tools and stuff are there for people to do that. And, it's just nice that, people are passionate enough to do it. And, I think that these companies need to loosen the reins a little bit, to let people just get out there and explore a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And talking about sort of small time developers and indie developers brings us very, very, very so nicely into our next story about the guys who make the game, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, is We Happy Few. Now, they were in the news recently because the Australian Classification Board a few weeks ago made the ruling that they were going to ban the game in Australia. The reason for this being that the game does depict heavy drug usage and heavy drug usage improving people's lives. For those of you who have played the game before, have seen it before, you'll know what it would mean. If you haven't, just keep watching the film, and I'm sure it's got some of it in there. But After this ruling, the developers for We Happy Few, they I'm just trying to find the name of these developers now. What was it again? Compulsion Games. That's it. So Compulsion Games then went and appealed to the Australian Classification Board about this decision, and it was overturned this week. And their reaction to it, I just kind of want to stick my middle finger up at them, really, because they're Compulsion's reaction to it is basically that, yeah, well, they didn't really have a choice. They had to make that decision. There we can see in the footage, this is the whole thing. As soon as they sad, you take drugs and it changes your perception of reality around you. This is why it was banned in the first place. So after it was the ban was taken off, their response was very much, well, they had to make that decision. That was the only decision they really could make. And I just sort of think for what started off as an indie project by an indie developer with like 5 people, they've gotten incredibly arrogant about themselves. I mean, the first thing for them was they went from being an indie developer to essentially a AAA studio, because they now, I think, again, they also belong to EA now, actually. They were bought out middle of last year sometime. Don't quote me on that. I don't think it was EA, but it was one of those big developers. So they're not actually an indie developer anymore, but carry on claiming on that status and keep delaying the project. It's been in early access for like 2 years now. I don't know if you've seen it all. Do you know much about it?
Not really. Just kind of going in and taking a peek at it. I mean, the game looks awesome. I never would have thought that. Seeing it like this, never would have thought that it started off as a an indie title. And then, like you said, I mean, when I look at it, that's how I see it. I see it as it looks like a AAA title.
Yeah.
So, with them moving, past that, I mean, it's pretty awesome. It looks like Microsoft themselves is the one that came in and acquired it in not an actual date, but this year. So yeah, this year sometime Microsoft did come in. And so yeah, now you have a backing of of a council, which I would think either is going to probably end up being an exclusive for them. Who knows? It does look pretty neat, and maybe it's something to help them out. In the aspect of the game, I think where you were saying that people, or where they were getting away with it, is that they had these drugs, the joy pills, which gave you, like you said, the different changing effects within your world. And I think what it was is like they were tweaking the information of what it was, or the name of how the drugs are used, and like kind of going against the this is our classification, like an R-rated or 18 plus mature. They kind of like dance around the issue just so that they don't get banned in Australia.
Yeah. I mean, the whole story around them does kind of raise a question again that I know I talk. Where do we start to blur the lines between an indie developer and a AAA developer? Because I mean, as you say, this is not an indie game, especially the size that it's gotten to. I mean, even as an early access game at the moment, it's already looks like it's going to be a AAA title. And just the pure arrogance of these developers, since now they've got money, and then it's like, oh, you had to declassify a game because it's going to be so bloody good, everyone's going to want to play it. I just sort of think, what, screw you guys, I don't care about your game anymore. But the other issue that it kind of does raise is the whole thing around game classification and artistic creative license, artistic impersonation, whatever. Artistic impression, sorry, that's the word I was looking for. And the question that it kind of raises within that is, where do you draw the line between artistic impression and just straight up, nah, dude, that's wrong? Because even going back to like the days of like Manhunt, when that was banned in the UK entirely because of its strong themes of violence, and that one I got, because you're playing a guy running around just murdering people in the most horrible ways possible. Whereas this is a bit different. This is kind of it's trying to kind of show the problems with drug usage and addictions, and it does have its own kind of message in terms of addiction and how we use not necessarily drugs in an open manner, but we use certain things within our everyday life to just try and make the world seem better to us than it is. And it is a growing problem. I mean, you can say that alcohol does that. You can say that cigarettes does that. Marijuana, cocaine, heroin, bloody name it. They all, that's the whole purpose behind those things, and that's where addiction comes from. And I think that message was lost originally when they were classifying it. But yeah, where do you draw the line with this?
And I think what they tried to do to justify it was, when we think drugs, I mean, everybody goes straight to, you have like cocaine or LSD or, ecstasy or, and I'm just I'm trying to think of stuff in the joy pill form, I guess. But like their justification was that, pills can be ibuprofen or Tylenol or, antibiotics or, like somebody's blood pressure or, something is taking a Tums, for heartburn. It's like they were trying to push it off on, I guess, leaving up to the viewer's imagination of, what is a drug, again, trying to justify what they were doing was being okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously whatever they did, it worked. Because that's kind of where, it seems like that's kind of where they were kind of, the drug mechanism of the game, trying to think that, using that as a subtle form that it's a need, and it's not like people are doing it, I guess, out of fun or want, or like what most people would, drugs in that aspect, that it's almost like it's that it's a need, like it's just Tylenol. It's like they have to have it, like you have to survive off of it. And I think that's where, they're, like you said, there should be a line, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, I did enjoy Manhunt. Does that make me a bad person?
No, it doesn't. No, but that's the point. That's the point. That is 100% the point, though. Playing that game does not make you a bad person. It just means you enjoy playing a game where you go around murdering people. I fucking love playing Hotline Miami. And all it is just running around fucking murdering everyone. That's all it is. And I love it. Does that make me a bad person? Of course not. But that's why I have a bit of a controversial stance on it. And that I don't believe in that games, that governments should be allowed to ban games anywhere. Like yes, classification is good from a buyer's perspective, because it gives you an idea of what you're buying. It gives parents an idea of what they're buying. But parents don't listen to it. Parents don't give a toss about video game classification. And that's where the problem starts. But I don't believe that a government should have the ability to ban a video game regardless of its content. Because they're basically trying to say that by playing this video game, you're going to be a bad person. By playing We Happy Few, you're going to start taking lots of drugs and it's going to make your life amazing. Okay.
And I mean,
I'll do it then. But you need to have that creative freedom to tell a story in whatever way you see fit. If that story is, just ridiculous murder, fine. If that story is taking drugs that change your perception of reality, fine. You have the right to tell that story in a medium that you choose.
Well, yeah, and it definitely raises the question that if you start penalizing people for doing stuff like that, then nobody's going to be in their full creative mode. People are always going to have to be looking over their shoulder like, okay, in my head, this is the game I want to produce. Oh, wait, now I have to change the whole formula because it's not going to get published in, these 12 countries because of whatever. They should have, their freedom. And I feel like you can kind of see that where Grand Theft Auto is always the one that kind of gets, hits the controversy, to where something happens and they like push the bar, and of course all of us as gamers are like, this is amazing, and then the next one comes out and then like it's less than what it was, and you're like, come on, you've already made that step, like just keep going with it. And it's like, yeah, people start to back off of their creativity for the sake of the whatever, where it's going to get banned or stuff like that. I mean, if it has an R rating, I can accept whatever you're going to throw at me as a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm glad you bring up the case of Grand Theft Auto and the kind of the, because I grew up in a household where I was not allowed to play Grand Theft Auto games at all. For fair reasons. My parents didn't believe that it would be good for me to play a video game where I run around hijacking cars and shooting people in the street. Fair play, I get that. And in that instance, the classification system completely worked. And so yeah, it is there for a reason. But these controversies only came around for Grand Theft Auto when they went into sort of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, Grand Theft Auto 4. By the time Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, no one really cared anymore. And I remember a particular scene in that game where one of the characters is basically doing this very graphic and very brutal torture. For those of you who play the game, the Trevor torture scene. It's like, even I was like, Jesus, that's a bit far, man. Wow. But no one mentioned it. It was just like, meh. Okay, that's what Grand Theft Auto does. Nobody cares anymore. There was no outcry about it. There was no social agenda against the game or anything. And I think that's the way it should be. But it's interesting how by the 5th iteration of that game, people just didn't care anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
And that's
now
what
suddenly
that
they care about
label's
this
for.
one, and it's exactly.
That's what it's there for.
And I'm glad they sorted that out with the GTA series. We get it. It's 18 rated because there's some horrible fucked up shit in there. Great, we know that.
Or
does that mean they get to ban the game?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't. Maybe there should be an extra label. You know, like, hey, it's 18, but it's like, oh, now we have an extra warning. Like, shit's really gonna get screwed up. Like, you know, like, enter at your own risk. Because I mean, it's just like, you know, where's the line that gets crossed between M for mature to, you know, an actual adult rating? You know, there needs to be like
M for mature, fucked up shit.
Yeah, there should be like a middle ground where it's just not straight pornography, but, you know, just like something where it's like, yeah, this is a little more extreme than most people can handle. You know, enter at your own risk. But yeah, no game should be banned. And I even with the banning, I understand with whatever Call of Duty that came out with the airport scene right after the whole, you know.
Yes, of course, that was a whole big deal.
And I mean, I understand certain things, but I'm like, it's a story. Like, if you read it in a book or you watched it on a movie, like, you wouldn't complain about it. But then you see it in a game that's already listed as 17 above, and it's like, it's a game about war, and it's a game about modern war. You know, it's taking off somewhat real, you know, and it's like, that could happen. That has happened, and it's, you know, it was just taking off that, but then countries lost their shit and started banning it for that reason. I'm like, it's just a story. It is a story you would read in a book or watch in a movie. Why is it so bad? Just for the fact.
And again, sort of coming back to what I was saying earlier, if you just cut away from this video, because it's not really relevant to what we're talking about now. But yeah, with that, how there was that big kind of fuss about Call of Duty and that whole sort of scene. I remember playing that the first time, and I was like, shit, this must be what they talk. They even had like the whole warningness of like, you don't have to play this part if you don't want to. It's going to be pretty messed up.
And
Brilliant.
That's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, You've given me the choice. I have the choice to do it. It's not just been taken out because somebody else said, no, you shouldn't be seeing that. You've given me the choice. I know what I'm in for. I know what I'm about to deal with. I'm ready for it. But yeah, I still remember playing that, and it did kind of hit me. I was like, oh, this is a bit deep, you know, this is kind of hitting a nerve slightly. But then by the time we get to GTA 5, where it kind of hit me on a similar level, but no one ever talked about it. No, there was never mentioned in any media or anything. It was just accepted that was part of the game. So it is moving forward. We are starting to see improvements in that area. But yeah, I just think a country or a government trying to ban a piece of media is wrong. And I think that just shows a flaw in your education system, or in the way that you educate the public about things, because you should ultimately leave the choice to them. Or if you're talking in the case of a child, it should be left up to the parents. And parents should be better with it. Anyway. Yeah. So moving swiftly along before all the parents in the world start hating me. Yeah. So, yeah. Any closing thoughts on that?
Let us have what we want. Quit taking stuff away from us.
What we want. Don't take stuff away from us. Government, stop taking stuff away from us. Let us have what we want.
Just because 50% of your sales are people that are 12, don't you be taking our stuff away. We know what we're getting into.
We want to see fucked up shit. Let us see it.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's the end of our sort of main stories for today. We've now got something a little bit of fun for you guys. I love this. I think it's brilliant.
Ooh.
And I just whoever made this this video, if we have it, do we have it ready?
Oh, we still have Google.
Did I miss one? Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed the story.
I was like, it's
long.
the main one. I'm like, yeah, it's the main story. Welcome in, Late Bottle Gamer.
You know what? That kind of turned into a main story there because we were talking about it for so long. And I was letting the time run a bit because I was like, oh no, we've just got the small stories now. All right, okay.
But that was a good one. That one touched home. You know, the fact of I want to be able to do whatever I want. I mean, that I feel in any media, as soon as you hit an 18 and above mark, there are no rules. You know, there's no, like
absolutely.
That's what it's there for. So in music, if you want to F-bomb, say whatever you want to say, that's what that parental ratings, advisory is for. Rated R movies, like, that's what I want to see. That's why I come to that stuff.
Absolutely. So. Right. Well, moving on to the main story today. Finally,
I'm excited about this.
This is not a recent announcement. This is kind of something that's been building over time, but this is a specific story that has come out that I think for the first time has really mapped what they're trying to do. And this is about the fact that Google is going to be breaking into games. And they're taking a sort of three-pronged approach to this. I'm going to go through kind of the basis of what the article was talking about and the information that we have at the moment. Now, before we go into that, this isn't the first time that Google has dabbled with games. They did attempt to buy Twitch out before Amazon swooped in with their big millions and their story to take over the world and all that. There was rumors of Google building an Android-based console, which never came to light. It never happened. And let's not forget that Pokemon Go was made by Niantic, which is a Google-incubated studio. So they have had their finger in games for quite some time, and they have been looking at it for quite some time. But this feels like this is their big action. So the first part of their plan is a streaming platform. Now, this is the angle that they want to go in at. It's currently known as Project Yeti. And basically what it's going to be is they are going to have massive, massive servers in their big, fancy, nice Google headquarters with every single game known to man or all the games they think people want to play installed on their servers. And you can log into the server and stream the game back to your computer and play it on your computer. Why the hell would they want to do this? Well, let me tell you. Because what this does allow you to do is it allows you to have less hardware or shall I say less high-tech hardware. So you wouldn't need a fancy graphics card because your computer's not generating the graphics. Their fancy server is. You're just viewing it and controlling it from your own device, which falls into their second step. And I'm going to come to you in a second, Noobs, about this. But the second step to this is going to be a hardware platform. Now, they haven't said anything about what that hardware platform is going to be. However, there's a strong indication that they're going to be building lower spec hardware platforms specifically designed to integrate with their Project Yeti or whatever it's going to end up being called. Now, I've got a strong opinion about streaming games, but I want to hear from you first, Noobs. What do you think about it?
I mean, as a console gamer collector, I still have not warmed up 100% to the PC aspect.
Right. I have one question.
Okay, yeah.
I have one question for you. How do you consume your music?
Because of I still do. I do it digitally.
How do you consume your music? Digitally through what?
iTunes currently.
Sorry, through a streaming service,
which I finally had to break down and do because I guess it was forced with the whole. Because I probably have 800 cassettes. We're going to show my age a little bit. The word cassette.
What's that? I've never heard of those before.
600 something CDs. And then, the times caught up to me. But the thing for me was, even in the collector mindset, I feel like vinyl, that's great, collect it. Like, I don't see a purpose in collecting CDs or cassettes or, any of that stuff.
Mm.
So in a collecting sense, like, I just woke up one day and was like, okay, let's wash this aside. I transferred all my CDs over to the computer and got an iTunes account because the problem I was having is I want to listen to music while I work. Oh, I can't have a CD player in my back pocket while I'm working. It's skipping, just old technology. And then in the
Yeah.
aspect, it just made sense, that to have the digital. I get the little iPad Touch or iPod or whatever Touch, and I was like, throw it in my back pocket, good to go. So I did make that switch over, but it's something I'm not passionate about. Like, music I love, but like I don't have, like, it's not on my walls. Gaming is my passion, and with that, it strikes a different chord because I want to show that off. I want to show people what I have. Like, I think if I had just a room with one monitor, a computer sitting next to it, and white walls and nothing there, and was like, I got 1,000 games. You look in the room, it's so bare. There's nothing to show off. And it's like, I have physical collector's editions that I've gone out and bought. Now, mind you, it's console, not PC. You get the digital content and stuff for the collector's editions, but I get the little figurines, I get to this, I get to that, and it's like, that's what's cool. I like that. And, I have a bookshelf with all the disc on it, and it's cool to look over and see, 1,000 games sitting there, for something you're 100% passionate about. It would be hard.
I get your passion with that 100%. I do. I have a very good friend of mine who is, and this is the reason I brought the kind of the music, the side of it, is I have a very good friend who is the same with music. As for many years, he buys the physical CDs. He doesn't buy it off iTunes or anything. He'll buy the physical CDs. He'll then put it onto his computer, into iTunes, and onto his phone or his iPod or whatever. But he'll have the physical CD. And he likes to have the physical object with the album artwork and the lyrics and all that stuff. He's very into that. He recently signed up for an iTunes, an Apple Music account. That's the one, the Apple Music account, which is different. So so Apple Music is a streaming. So you're not using a streaming service. You will one day. I tell you this now because that's what the way the industry's doing. But there are still people that have these attachments to the physical object, and I completely get it, and I love it. I think it's great to have a passion like that. But the world is changing, and I think it's a very generational thing. I don't feel like I'm from that generation, but you're obviously from a generation that still has value in that physical object. I don't. I use Google Play Music. I'm all down for that. But I have a very different fundamental issue with this, in that from a technical perspective, I don't see how this is going to work. I don't. I don't think there's strong enough internet connections to allow it.
That for one, and yeah, because just because you've solved the hardware issue, and you're giving people that virtual computer aspect where you can control it. Yeah, if your internet's garbage, it doesn't matter what it is, because then now you have to feed that to you and send it back. What are people actually, I mean, everybody has connectivity issues, and WebZip, I'm offline. Now you can't do anything. You can't stream it because now you can't get online to get to their virtual machine to bring it to you.
Now, I'm sure they'll have some kind of thing in there where you can, if you like a game, you can then download it onto your computer to play offline and something like that. I'm sure they're going to have that. But fundamentally, it is going to remove a large player base from your games, I think, because it's only going to be people who live in places with the kind of internet connections that can handle that are really going to subscribe to your service. Everyone else is still going to be buying the game off Steam and downloading it. Or if you offer it on your service, they're just going to buy the game and download it. It may save you money because if you subscribe to a streaming service, I'm sure it'll work in a similar way to any other streaming service where you pay a monthly fee and then you can play any of the games on there. So it could save you money, but you don't get to play the games at high quality. Because can you honestly see someone streaming something like something that's coming out, for example, Fallout 76, streaming that game from a remote server onto your computer and then connecting to 4, 5, or sorry, dozens of other people on the same server who are playing the same game. Oh no, it's like it's giving me a headache already, and I just can't see how you're going to get the same good quality.
Yeah, and I think for the casual gamer, like you said, if they had a service where you pay X amount of dollars, you have access to every game in the world. Like that's great. You know, you get to play one at a time. Or if they had something kind of like with Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus, as soon as the service ends, the back coding doesn't allow you to play the game anymore. So like that is really cool. Um, but I think that we were talking about iTunes and that aspect versus actual streaming like Google Play or iTunes Music or whatever, Apple Music or whatever it is. Uh, even
Yeah.
though it's digital, like you still own it. Like I bought those songs, they are on my computer versus a streaming service, you listen to it, that's it. So at least I can walk away offline, listen to my music. Offline I can play my game. Like I don't have to be online. So I do love the the aspect of, even though it's digital and I don't have a physical copy, at least it's on my computer. Streaming service, if they don't give it where I get access to everything for X amount of dollars, I don't see how well
Yeah.
that's going to work out. For someone like me, it might work out for someone else that's on a limited budget and they want to have access to everything, for a couple bucks a month or whatnot. So I get it in that aspect.
Yeah. Nah, as I say, I just think it's, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the idea. I don't think the technology is there. Will the technology ever get there? Probably, but I'm just not into that. I'm similar to you in terms of games, although I buy everything off Steam. Sorry, hold on a second. I'm having a slight technical issue on my side here, which I'm just quickly trying to fix. Okay. Yeah. I'm not necessarily for this. I don't think it's a great idea. I just don't see how it's going to work. But looking at the kind of third aspect of how they want to attack this, their next step is going to be to basically just buy out tons of developers, which to me is an even bigger concern, because what happens when a company like this buys out developers? They get them to make exclusives. So we're going to start seeing Google buying out these developers to make exclusives for their streaming platform. So the only way they're going to force us into this economy where we have to use the system. And then to use the system most effectively, we then have to buy the hardware which they make. So yeah, I don't like it. It's Google trying to create this kind of Apple ecosystem where in order to play something, you've got to buy into it. You've got to buy into everything. And I'm very much against that kind of stuff across the board in anything. I don't like buying into an ecosystem so fully.
Yeah, and it's one of those, I guess, like I said, the concept sounds great. We both agree that we personally wouldn't like Google making 100%.
Whoa, go back. I don't think the concept sounds great. I think the concept sounds awful.
No, that's what I mean. Sorry. Woo! I'm reading and I'm talking and I'm looking. No, we both think the concept isn't great. We both think the concept isn't great. Yeah, and it, like I said, for me, it probably never worked. I can barely get into the whole owning a digital copy alone, just streaming something, because at the end of the day, I want to have ownership. I want to know my money goes into something that I can physically sell if I need to. So having just a streaming service, it doesn't work for me. And then you can't actually say you really own it. So
I think it's the natural progression, though, as we've seen with TV, Netflix, Amazon Music, Google Play, Apple Music, and Spotify, obviously. How can I forget that one? It feels like it's the natural progression for entertainment. I think the complexities around doing this and then the way that gaming kind of pushes the boundaries constantly, they're going to make more problems for themselves than they can fix, especially if you're looking at attacking a PC gaming market where games are every single year getting more and more powerful with better and better graphics, more tricks, more this. And to maintain servers to keep up with that sort of advancement of gaming constantly, it's going to be very expensive. And I don't think they're going to get the player base to support that kind of system.
And like you said, they've backed out on multiple, innovative technologies before in the past, and you know,
They literally had a working prototype of the Google glasses. They had people had it. They were using it. It was working, and then they just turn around. Nah, scrap that. We've just spent billions of dollars on this. Nah, scrap it.
And
I don't think it's gonna happen.
And in a world with the video games, like, I'm happy. Like, I don't want another console company coming in and competing. You know, I don't want, like, Steam. I'm happy with Steam. You know, you have all these other places, Humble Bundle, this and that. They give you codes. You go to Steam, you download it. Great. But then you have, you know, Origins and Uplay. And then the games are, you know, secluded there. Then now I have more and more apps on my computer just to play a game. And I just, like, I want to have one home. So, like, I don't want another service coming in, you know, doing anything, streaming, digital, or console-based. They are a giant, so they do have the financial backing to make it a reality, if they do. But, yeah, just like you, I don't want to see it. Hopefully they don't.
I don't want to see it, and I don't think we're going to. I don't want to see it. I don't think we're going to. I don't think they've got the history of falling through on big projects like this for us to believe that it's ever going to become a reality. They're spending a lot of time in it and a lot of effort into it. I mean, they've been going around to various conferences and talking to people behind closed doors. And apparently they've even shown off a working version of the project to some developers. So they're quite far into it. And as we've shown, they've got some experience with video games as well. But it's ambitious. The technology isn't quite there. And I think they're just looking for an excuse to keep their employees busy and waste some more money.
Yeah, I love Chrome. Just keep up the web service.
just keep making Chrome better.
Yeah.
And games instead of worrying how your users are consuming your products, just focus on making better products. Yeah. Stop focusing on how we play your games. Focusing on what platform it's on. Just make better games, and we will play them. That's it. I
like my phone. I like your web browser, but it's like when Samsung made refrigerators. Like, just stop. Like, people.
Whoa! I'm sorry. Samsung makes some damn good refrigerators. Okay.
I like the TV in the fridge. It's really good. The fact
that I can watch Netflix while browsing for a snack. I mean, come on.
But yeah.
What more does a man need in his life? Let's be honest.
Yes, really is.
Right. So. Now moving on, that's the end of our big stories for the week. And if you guys have anything you'd like to add to those stories, please chuck stuff in our comments, chuck stuff in our various Discords, all the details. Hit us up on Twitter, all that good stuff. And get involved in the conversation. We would love to get more of what you guys have to say on here. We're still trying to work out how to do that, but send us messages, send us stuff, and we will do our best to get you guys more involved with the show.
Yeah, Relentless was talking about the Windows Phone as a great example.
Oh, yeah.
Of something that where, you know, they stepped out and it didn't really work out. But
yeah. But didn't Microsoft they bought Nokia for that, didn't they?
They might have.
They bought Nokia and redesigned the Nokia OS to make the Windows Phone. So they bought an OS that was in no way relevant to smartphones in any way, to redesign it to make it relevant for smartphones and build a phone based around an operating system that was never designed for a smartphone. So I think they made a few other errors in that decision as well.
It's like, let's make a tablet, but we're going to go from 10 inches down to 2.5.
Yeah.
The reversal.
But but one could argue that some of the technology that they created in the Windows phones, you know, was very much used into the current versions of Windows that we run at the moment. One can definitely argue that. So it was maybe a necessary step which paid off for them. But yeah, in terms of their phones, I never used one. I know my dad had one for a while. He liked it, but he's not a millennial who uses his phone for gaming and sending nudes all the time. So I don't think he's as bothered about the OS as some people.
Who games, right? It's that other thing. What? No.
Yeah.
Wait. Anyway, I'm not supposed to do that?
It's not you're not supposed to, just not to me, please. I don't want to see them. Right, so on to our funny story for the week, if that wasn't funny enough for you. So this is this is a great video that came out of Canada of a robbery, which someone has re-edited. Just roll it with the audio and enjoy it. Have we got the audio for this?
Yes.
What was that noise?
Oh, it's not running on mine. It's only running on yours. Right, if you want to catch the audio for this, go and watch it on Noobs. I just love that chick. She's absolutely mental. He slips as he gets up as well.
Using him as a fall guy.
I don't even understand what's going on here. Like, what does she actually have to do with it? Is she hiding in the bathroom there at first? She goes in the back.
I thought she was going to take the camera down. And then I'm like, where's she going?
And then this is just brilliantly edited in.
I mean, how's she fit in the air duct? I don't
know. And then the police obviously arrive and it's all over. They're lucky. Hey, no, you know what? I'm not going to say it because I could get in trouble. But anyway.
Like, the cops never once was like, this is a person of interest.
Yeah.
And she goes to the back, and, I mean, until she falls through the ceiling, they're like, oh, we have to, you know, like, this person's doing something wrong. Why? Why? You could have just stayed in the bathroom, been just a normal Patreon. No, you had to do... I honestly thought she was taking down the camera. I was like, wow, these are smart criminals.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just very quickly, sorry, sorry, I'm having technical issues here. Purple Drank, I am having audio issues on my side today. If you want to go and watch on Noobs, Noob Television's channel, he's got everything working there. But yeah, there's an audio issue on my side, I'm afraid. But yeah, I love it when people do this kind of stuff and editing video game, things like that. I'm a big fan of Metal Gear Solids. I'm a big fan of this video and a big fan of just people doing stupid crap. So, yeah, hilarious.
That was a good one. That was a good funny moment.
Yeah, it's always fun to see stuff like that. So, moving on to our last sort of a bit for today, and we've got our game spotlights. Noobs, what game have we got today?
We have Next Up Heroes. And Next Up Heroes, there we go. It reminds me of like the old Gauntlet. Like I guess that's a thing. A Gauntlet style whatever. And the way that it's kind of laid out is when you die, I guess your body just chills there for the next person that comes along to find you and resurrect you. So you're building an army of others that have died along the game. So I think that is a super cool concept. I love that there's co-op with the game. I mean, it's got a really cool, super cartoony, you know, it's cute. It's just another cute game, just like Mini Battlegrounds. You know, that's what we want. We you know, we have to step away from the Grand Theft Autos and get to the cuteness every once in a while, redeem ourselves. But the game's really cool. You get that, you know, you get your stats, your upgrading gear. It has a lot of replayability to it. I know it's kind of hot, you know, even here in the community. A lot of people are, you know, playing it and checking it out.
I haven't actually played this yet. I have got it, but I haven't actually played it yet. So what exactly are you doing? You're just running around killing stuff, and then every time you die, your body stays there, and other people can activate it? Are you then playing as yourself in someone else's game?
No,
or
you're
is it just like an AI version of yourself in someone else's game or in your game? Or
just an AI version. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm actually going to be playing it sometime today, but I'm not 100% sure how all that plays out. If it's like you have friends
Hmm.
and you're only the remnants within your friends' games, or
Yeah.
if I just show up on some random person's game and they can see my name, because you could definitely tell, it said John M or something like that as the
Yeah.
people were getting picked up. Um,
So you can actually physically play with other people as well.
yes, because I know that it's just co-op, so it's just two people, and I know Divide and Remy were playing, and like later on, I think Divide played by himself and could pick up Remy's person, and that's where it kind of goes to question: is it just your friends that you're kind of picking up, or because I mean, if you think about the game's been out for a while, there'd be dead bodies everywhere. You would just be picking up an army. So I don't know how they factor in the echoes, is what they call them, into your game. But I think it is cool.
I'm definitely going to be checking it out this week. That's for sure. I might even play it tonight a little bit before I go to bed. But yeah, it looks really good. I know a lot of guys on Caffeine, as you said, have been playing it. If you guys want to come play it with us, please do come and join our Discords. We are going to be hanging out after the show today in a Discord channel. You can come and chat with us and talk to us for a bit if you want. Noobs, which chat channel are we going to be in?
I can't remember if we named it something different.
I
have to double check. I guess it's
after
just
stream party. There it is.
The after stream party.
So if you go onto the Noob Television Discord server, there is a chat room called the After Stream Party, and you can go and join, and you can come and have a chat with us, and hang out with us, and ask us any questions you want, and suggest any stories that you want to see on here for next week. Yeah, Noobs, anything you want to add there?
Yes. For the game that we just showed, Next Up Heroes, there is, if you are an Amazon Prime member, through Twitch has games as well, just like Uplay or Ubi, stuff like that. They have their own in-house whatever. Amazon Prime is actually giving away 21 games through this month. So almost every day there'll be a free game. This actually came up for free yesterday, and it will be on there for like 5 days before they take it off. So if you are a Prime member, you can get this for free without having to pay for it to come play with us. If not, I believe it's $14.99 on Steam, which definitely still worth it if you don't have Amazon Prime. About the same price, so don't just go get Prime just for the sake of the game. But if you do have it, there's a ton of games. I think Brutal Legends is one of them. They're just not a bunch of small indie titles. There's a couple bigger ones in there as well. So definitely check that out. But yeah, one of the Rolling Scroll, I think the bottom one will have the Discord information. Definitely check out Instagram, Twitter, and Discord for the Gingerback. His is scrolling above his name. And then all of the social media aspect is, I still can't get used to this, down here. So definitely, come check us out. Come talk to us. If anything, drop suggestions of what you'd like to hear, on the next show. And I guess that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it.